and welcome to today's video. Filmed in lovely Devon, unfortunately not as sunny as usual. I was going to say usual then, but it's never usually sunny in England. Anyway, so choice. I've made a choice to make this video today. Choices. I don't have a choice to do this, I don't have a choice to do that. Sounds familiar? I don't have a choice to take actions, decisions and beliefs over my own life. Well, people don't say that, but it's often the case. And it's not a case that we don't have choice in many situations. It's often a case that the hard choice is so difficult that we rule it out as being a choice altogether. Now, there are situations where people genuinely don't have a choice, or the circumstances when we genuinely don't have a choice. But what I'm going to do is outline when we don't have a choice versus when we do have a choice, and some things we can do to feel more empowered to make decisions on our choices. So, when don't we have a choice? Unfortunately, there's some people who are born with disadvantages in this world. So whether that's financial disadvantage or environmental disadvantage, or perhaps they're born with a physical or mental struggle in their life. Or there's those cases where tragedy hits us in life, so whether that's a natural disaster or a loss of a loved one or anything unfortunate. Those are the kind of things where we don't have a choice over, that we can't choose if those things happen to us. But then there's things you hear people say like, I don't have a choice, I've got to stay in this job. I don't have a choice, I've got to stay in this relationship. And actually, they do have a choice, but some of the choices they have are so difficult and it's going to cause them a lot of pain perhaps in the short term, but maybe a bit more benefit in the long term, that they rule it out because they're so out of their comfort zone. And remember, our brain, the limbic part of our brain, is trying to keep us safe. It's not trying to keep us happy. So therefore, our brain's telling us we don't have that choice because it wants to keep us safe. So I'm going to use some examples from myself first of all. When I was in the public sector 2-3 years ago now, 3-4 years ago maybe, I was struggling with getting jobs. Now, I kept going from job interview to job interview, and I'd get very close and they say, no, you can't have that. Sorry, not like that, but say, no, unfortunately, we found someone else. And it was hard, it's very hard, but I could have easily thought, oh, I'm hopeless, I'm useless, I've got a university degree for nothing, I might as well give up and just try a very, very basic job for the rest of my life. But no, I kept growing myself, choosing to grow myself, and then therefore looking for jobs consistently, and then I got a very good one out of that and grew as a person a lot. And there's been cases where I've really been busy for the days, and I could have said, oh, I don't have time for exercise, I don't have time for my writing, for my speaking, but I make the choice to schedule my weeks and days very carefully so I can fit those important things in, because I know they're very important things to keep on top of in terms of my health and what I love doing, my writing and speaking. Now, let's go back to the examples of a hard job or a relationship. Those are just the top examples I can think of off the top of my head when people say they don't have a choice. So let's go back to the job. So say you're in a really difficult job situation and you really don't like your job. But then, okay, you need to pay the bills. Yes, I think we can all agree on that. We need money to pay the bills. So what choices might you have? You might have the choice of staying miserable in that job, which people might choose to do because they're actually in a level of comfort that they're getting some money in, even though they don't necessarily like it. They could make the choice to do a little bit of studying and then study and get a qualification towards something they like on the side. They could also go out and look for a new job entirely, something completely different, and leave their job, which might be a big risk. But they might see those things as really hard work or coming out of their comfort zone, so they'll rule them out and just say, I don't have a choice. And then the next example, a relationship. You may be in a relationship where you're really, really miserable, and you know you've outgrown that relationship a long time ago, and perhaps you and the other person aren't happy. Now, you might be tied down into a house. You might have kids, you might have pets, you might be married. Now, there's going to be varying different levels of of how long you are in a relationship, but you've got the choice of either leaving that relationship or staying in it. Now that's quite simple. Is it easy? No, it is not easy to leave that person if you've got all those commitments or you've been together, because it's going to be hard emotionally, financially possibly, and mentally it's going to take a lot of work. But you do have a choice. You can leave that person and go through all that pain but then feel better in the longer term, or you can just stay miserable and avoid that short-term pain but get a long-term benefit out of it. So that's the message I'm trying to say. We often do have more choices over our actions, over our beliefs and decisions than we think we do. So I have had a lot of setbacks in the last year, obviously not as bad as some people in this life, and gratitude is something I regularly do to appreciate what I do have, because I've got a lot of great things in my life. But when I have setbacks, I'm of course going to feel bad, but I make the choices to do stuff like meditate, exercise, eat the right things, because I know that's going to build a happier version of me, and I'm going to be me for the rest of my life. So I want to make the choices to make me feel happy. And that's what I genuinely believe everyone should do, but people don't do it because it's hard work or it can be a hard choice. So what can you do? So you can write down. So I regularly talk about journaling, but you can write it down. You can write down what the difficult situation is, so you can get really clear on what you're struggling with, and that can help to start with, just getting it out of your head. Then you've got the choice to either option A, option B, option C, so there's lots of different options. But writing them down and then writing the pros and cons, the benefits and the risks can really help you make that decision and allow your brain to see what actually is there. And then something similar is actually to talk it through with someone. Now, you can talk it through with someone you know and trust, which is really good, or you can talk it through with someone just to listen and not necessarily give you an opinion. But you've got the choice to talk through what your choices are, and that can really help getting out of your head and perhaps getting someone else's perspective on it. I wouldn't recommend you talk to someone negative about it or biased in a certain direction in it. Maybe talk to someone on the phone, and if you don't have anyone, you can speak to someone like Samaritans if you're really struggling, or various helplines on the phone. So that's today's talk. I hope it's been useful for you. Remember that sometimes choices are very difficult, but they are choices nonetheless, and they may benefit you longer term. So for any more of my stuff, just go on to johnnypardo.com on my website, or you can find me on social media. Just type in Johnny Pardo into Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, or for any of my books, it's Amazon. Keep making choices, guys, because you do have the choice of your actions, your decisions, and your beliefs. And we'll speak soon.